I ranked in the top 50 in the province on the college entrance exam, securing a spot at Tsinghua or Peking University, but I never received my admission letter until the semester started. Lu Yuchuan, my boyfriend of 2 months, suddenly proposed a breakup. Why? He let out a sneer, his eyes full of contempt. Su Qinghe, you didn't get into college. What kind of future do you have? We're no longer in the same world. Don't drag me down. He didn't spare me another glance and turned to leave. I stood frozen in place, my entire body feeling as if it had fallen into an ice cellar. Later, when I scrolled through my social feed, 8 out of 10 posts were about heading off to university, while I alone had no school to attend. Resentment overwhelmed me like a tidal wave, until I accidentally came across a post by my classmate Xia Wanru. In the photo, she held the admission letter from Qingbei University, the one I had always dreamed of, standing at the school gate with a radiant smile. The caption read, "I've kept our promise, and my boy at Lu Yuchuan." In the comments below, Lu Yuchuan instantly replied with a heart emoji, along with the words, "Let's walk side by side from now on." Lu Yuchuan actually got together with Xia Wanru right after breaking up with me, and I know Xia Wanru's grades, they weren't bad, but far from the score required for this top university. Why was she admitted? While I wasn't, with trembling hands, I finally dialed the admissions office of Qingbei University. The moment the call connected, I was almost crying as I asked, "Hello, teacher, my name is Su Qinghe. I can't find my admission information. My exam number is XXXXXXXX. May I ask if I have been admitted to your university?" The teacher paused for a few seconds, her tone somewhat serious. "Student, hold on a moment, let me check. Found it. Student Su, you have been admitted to our university. The admission letter was sent out last month, and according to the system, you have already completed the enrollment procedures." Already enrolled, my mind went blank with a buzzing sound. I never received the admission letter, let alone reported to the school. How could I possibly be enrolled? I took a deep breath and tentatively asked, "Teacher, is there a student named Xia Wanru who has been admitted to your school?" "Just a moment, classmate." The teacher paused. "I've checked, and there is no student named Xia Wanru among this year's new students at our school." After hanging up the phone, my mind was filled with everything that had happened over the past 2 months. When the college entrance exam results came out, Lu Yuchuan confessed his feelings to me. He said he had a crush on me for a long time and wanted to build a future together with me. During those 2 months, he accompanied me on walks and chats every day, saying that we would enter the same university in the same city, graduate together, and work together. My heart was full of anticipation for the future, without a shred of doubt. But as the admission letters of my classmates were gradually delivered, mine remained delayed. I couldn't help but start to panic. I immediately found Lu Yuchuan and said, "Yuchuan, I still haven't found any admission information. What should I do? Should I call the school's admissions office to ask?" His tone was soft, and he gently patted my back. "Qinghe, don't panic. It might just be a system delay. Wait a little longer, and don't contact the school yet. It wouldn't be good if it turned out to be a misunderstanding." His reassurance was like a calming pill, and I obediently waited until now. Not only has he broken up with me, but he has also immediately gotten together with Xia Wanru. So it turns out, Lu Yuchuan's confession was fake, his tenderness was fake, and all his promises were fake. He approached me, not out of affection, but to keep me in check, to stop me from checking the admission results, so that Xia Wanru could steal my scores, steal my admission letter, and steal the life I had earned through 12 years of hard study. Tears finally couldn't be held back and fell, but I didn't let out a sob. I just bit my lip hard until I tasted blood. I opened my phone and saved all the evidence. Screenshots of my college entrance exam scores, chat records with Lu Yuchuan, screenshots of Xia Wanru's social media posts, and the call recording with the admissions office. Then I went straight to the education bureau with the evidence. But before I could even step through the door of the education bureau, I was blocked by 2 tall men. "Hey, you're not allowed in here. Go back now. I need to see someone from the education bureau to report a situation. My student registration has been taken over by someone else." I refused to back down and tried to push my way in. A man shoved me and said, "Report a situation." I suggest you stop making trouble and go back now, or it won't end well for you. I instantly understood. They were sent by the Shia family to stop me. I knew the Shia family had power and influence, but I never expected they would dare to station people right outside the Education Bureau. I gritted my teeth, trying to charge straight through, but the two men stood firmly in my way, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't push past them. A mix of hatred and helplessness churned inside me, and in the end, I could only turn and walk away in frustration. Just as I was walking home in a daze, a local news notification suddenly popped up on my phone. Outstanding examinee Xia Wanru from our city has been admitted to Qingbei University with excellent grades, becoming the pride of our city this year. Her parents stated that they will continue to nurture her and help her become a pillar of the nation. Looking at the glamorous image of Xia Wanru in the accompanying photo, I felt a chill run through my entire body. She stole my life, yet she still wears my halo, calmly accepting everyone's praise. You owe me, and I won't let it go that easily. 2. The news that I didn't get into college spread like wildfire through our high school alumni circle. Did you hear? Su Qinghe had such high scores but still didn't get into college. What a shame. Exactly. Xia Wanru got into a top-tier university and is now with Lu Yuchuan, truly a winner in life. Maybe Su Qinghe just had an off day. Even top students can slip up sometimes. Relatives came by one after another, offering what they called comfort, but it was all just veiled mockery. Aunts and gossiping women crowded around my mom, their voices dripping with sympathy while their eyes gleamed with smugness. Qinghe's mom, don't take it too hard. For a girl, not getting into college isn't the end of the world. Marrying well is just as good. I simply pretend not to hear all these words. Unable to reach the Education Bureau, I compiled all the evidence and posted it online, but every time I posted it, it was instantly blocked. Without even a ripple, I tried repeatedly, switching several accounts and revising the text multiple times. But the result was always the same. My mother watched me grow increasingly silent, her heart aching so much that she couldn't sleep all night. Secretly wiping away tears one evening, she took my hand, her voice choked with emotion. Qinghe, how about we retake the exam? Give it one more year. With your ability, you'll definitely get into a better school next year. If you don't want to retake, we can go to a vocational college. It's still better than staying at home and being talked about. Looking at the wrinkles around my mother's eyes, my heart felt a pang of bitterness. Retaking the exam for another year meant enduring another year of gossip and rumors, and waiting another year to seek justice. As for a junior college, that's not what I want. I can't let my 12 years of hard work end so hastily. Just as I was silently shaking my head, about to refuse again, the doorbell suddenly rang. My mom was taken aback for a moment, then got up to answer the door. Standing outside were none other than Xia Wanru's parents. Xia Wanru's father, dressed in a sharp suit, wore an arrogant expression. Her mother was dressed in splendor, with delicate makeup and a hypocritical smile on her lips. There was no doubt that their visit here must be related to Xia Wanru taking my place. My mother's face darkened, and her tone was cold. What business do you have? Xia Wanru's father spoke with a condescending tone. Mrs. Su classmate, we're here today to have a talk with you. Before my mom could say anything, they walked straight into the house. I know, Qinghe, your college entrance exam score was very high, and it must be hard not getting into university, but since things have already turned out this way, dwelling on it won't help. How about we make a deal? He paused, then took a bank card out of his bag. There's 500,000 in here. Consider it a small compensation from us. Take this money and let Qinghe either retake the exam or enroll in a decent vocational college. From now on, don't pursue this matter anymore, and don't cause any trouble for Wanru and Lu Yuchuan. 500,000, trying to buy off 12 years of my hard work, trying to buy off my stolen life. I looked at the bank card on the table, feeling nothing but a bitter irony. I let out a cold laugh and said, Mr. and Mrs. Xia, do you think my life is worth 500,000? Xia Wanru's mother's face darkened, and her tone turned cold as well. Miss Su, you'd better take what you're given and stop while you're ahead. If you make a big deal out of this, it won't do anyone any good. You should know who Ru's father is. So don't bring shame to your Sioux family. Shame. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my palms. You stole my admission letter. You stole my life. The ones who should be ashamed are you. Keep this money for yourselves. I don't want it. Seeing that we were firm in our stance and wouldn't fall for their tricks, Xia Wanru's father completely lost his patience, his tone turning icy cold. Su Qinghe, I advise you to know your place. I have extensive connections in the city, and making it impossible for your family to stay in this small town would be as easy as turning my hand. If you're smart, you'll take the money and behave yourself. If you're ungrateful and insist on making a scene, not only will you suffer the consequences, but your parents and the entire Sioux family will be dragged down with you. By then, no matter how high your test scores are, don't expect any way out. My mother was trembling with rage, yet she still stood strong in front of me, shielding me. Mr. Xia, don't go too far. Our Qinghe has done nothing wrong. You stole her future and now dare to come to our door and threaten us. Do you really think the Sioux family is so easy to bully? Xia Wanru's father let out a sneer and stood up. You'll soon find out whether we're easy to bully or not. I'll give you one more day to think it over. If you come around, give me a call. If not, you'll have to face the consequences. With that, he left without looking back, taking Xia Wanru's mother with him. He slammed the door with such force that the walls trembled slightly. The room fell silent again. My mother held me tightly and couldn't help but cry. Qinghe, what are we going to do? They have power and influence. How can we possibly fight them? I patted my mother's back, suppressing the hatred and grievance deep inside me, and said firmly, Mom, don't be afraid, we can fight them. So what if they have power and influence? If they've done something wrong, they must pay the price. I won't let this go. At that moment, the decision in my heart became even more resolute. Mom, I'm not going to repeat a year of school, nor will I attend a vocational college. I want to join the military. Join the military. My mother was stunned, her face full of confusion. Qinghe, what are you saying? The military is so tough. How could you, a girl, endure such hardship? I held my mother's hand and said, word by word, Mom, I signed up for the Special Talent Supplementary Recruitment at the National Defense University, and I got accepted. As long as I pass the freshman training smoothly in the military, the Army will directly review my file. When that happens, all the truth will come to light. No matter how powerful the Xia family is, they will have to pay the price for what they've done. 3. After the college entrance exam, I signed up for the special talent recruitment at the National Defense University on a whim. I never expected that today I would receive a call from an unfamiliar number. The voice on the other end of the phone was very formal, introducing itself. Hello, Su Qinghe. I am a specialist from the admissions office of the National Defense University. Congratulations, your college entrance exam score has met our special talent supplementary admission criteria, and after passing the review, you have been officially proposed for admission to our university. I was stunned for a moment, thinking I had misheard. Teacher, what did you say? National Defense University. I didn't find any admission information before. The specialist's tone was very gentle. Because you applied for a classified major at our university, the admission information is not publicly disclosed for now, and your file will be kept separately under classified management, inaccessible to outside inquiries. The enrollment process for this major needs to follow the military enlistment procedure, and you will only be officially admitted after passing the recruit training. At that moment, all the grievances and unease seemed to have found their place. My hands were trembling as I held the phone, and my eyes instantly reddened. So, I hadn't been abandoned by fate after all. My efforts had not been in vain. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, teacher, I said, my voice choked with emotion. You're welcome. You deserve this. The notice will be delivered to your home by courier tomorrow. Please report to the military camp in 3 days. After hanging up the phone, I sat in my room and cried for a long time. This time, they were tears of joy. Once the recruit training was over, the military inspection team would directly cross region to review the files. No local education bureau or powerful connections in the small town could stop them. The Shia family had wealth and influence, and no matter what, my mother and I could never shake them. This was my only chance to tear open the Shia family's dark secrets and take back everything. My mother, her eyes red, wiped her tears and nodded. She felt heartbroken that I was forced to scheme at such a young age. Yet deep down, she was proud of me. She repeatedly assured me that no matter what decision I made, she would support me. The next morning, the doorbell was rung urgently and aggressively. Shia Wanru's father, dressed in a decent suit, still wore a face full of arrogance. He held a printed non-disclosure agreement in his hand. With a stoic lawyer following behind him, putting on quite a show, Su Chingha, have you thought it through? 50,000. This money is enough for you and your mother to live a stable life for the rest of your days. Sign the papers, and from now on, never mention the matter of the academic record replacement. Never post anything online to expose it. Never go to any department to file a complaint. Just live your life peacefully, and we'll all get along. I looked at that flimsy bank card, feeling nothing but a deep sense of irony. 12 years of hard study, a top 50 ranking in the entire province, the admission qualification to Qingbei that should have been mine. They stole it all from me, destroyed my future, crushed my sincerity, and now they want to brush it all away with a measly 50,000, erasing all their sins in the past. I would have torn the mask off their faces right then and there, fighting to the bitter end, but not now. I still have to join the military, and I can't afford to provoke him at this critical moment. I lowered my eyelids, deliberately putting on a look of numbness, exhaustion, and defeat by reality, exuding an air of despondent apathy. My voice was faint, lacking any strength. I won't cause any more trouble. I deliberately showed weakness, going along with his words. After all this struggle, hitting walls everywhere, my reports being suppressed, unable to get into the Education Bureau, and my voice online being blocked, I've long been exhausted. The path of studying is closed to me. Joining the military is fine. At least I can get away from here and live a quiet life. Shia's father looked me up and down, seeing my dejected demeanor and complete lack of rebellious spirit, and fully let down his guard in his eyes. I was just a naive kid who had never seen the dangers of society. No skills, no connections, incapable of causing any trouble in front of him. He nodded in satisfaction, putting away his tough attitude, his tone laced with contempt and disdain. If you had been this sensible from the start, wouldn't it have been better? People need to face reality. Some things just aren't meant for you, no matter how hard you fight for them. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging into my flesh, suppressing the surging hatred while keeping my expression calm and unreadable. I didn't sign anything, nor did I take his bank card. I only gave a verbal promise. No further pursuit, and no exposure of anything. The more obedient I am, the more relaxed they become, and the less they will send people to keep an eye on me, which makes me safer. Shiafu didn't force me to sign immediately. He harshly dropped a few warnings, telling me not to play any clever tricks if I dared to pull any more sneaky moves behind his back. He had plenty of ways to make sure my mother and I couldn't stay in this small town any longer. Then he left with his men the news that I, a student ranked in the top 50 of the entire province, had given up retaking the college entrance exam and vocational college to enlist in the military quickly became a headline. Those relatives who had previously been sneering at my mother now found a new topic to gossip about. What a pity, such a brilliant student, but instead of focusing on her studies, she insists on enduring the hardships of military service. Her boyfriend dumped her, and she didn't get into college. She must have been so heartbroken that she lost her mind for a moment. That little girl from the Shia family is now basking in glory at Qingbei University, making headlines every day. And then look at Shia Qinghe from the same family. Comparisons really do drive people crazy. Everyone is comparing me to Shia Wanru. On one side is the highly acclaimed talented woman from Tsinghua and Peking University. On the other is the struggling top student with an uncertain future. Neighbors gossip, high school classmates whisper behind my back, and even acquaintances I used to get along with look at me with pity and disdain. I hear all these words loud and clear, but I can't be bothered to defend myself with a single word. I pretend not to hear, not to care, letting the outside world say whatever it wants, hiding all my thoughts deep in my heart. Silently packing my bags and submitting all the documents for enlistment, Liu Yuchuan heard from my former classmates that I was going to join the military. He didn't come to me on his own, but I learned from a close classmate that he seemed relieved to have cut ties with me early on, relieved that he had latched onto the Xia family's big tree, relieved that he had chosen the right path and didn't have to fall into the abyss with me. I just smiled casually when I heard that. I really did like Liu Yuchuan before. After all, he was handsome and excelled academically. When a male lead like that says he's had a crush on me for a long time and wants to build a future together, it's hard not to be tempted, but thankfully, before I completely fell for him, Liu Yuchuan told me he wasn't worth it. The night before I left home, I sat by the window, scrolling through all the encrypted evidence saved on my phone, screenshots of my college entrance exam scores, chat logs with Liu Yuchuan, Xia Wanru's social media posts, recordings of calls with the admissions office of Tsinghua and Peking University, and the audio of the Xia family's threatening visit. Every piece of evidence is a testament to the crimes they personally left behind. I gently caressed the screen, my eyes cold and deep. Liu Yuchuan, Xia Wanru, the Xia family, and everyone who helped them, the glory they have stolen, the honor they have borrowed, and the superiority they now flaunt. I will tear it all apart, piece by piece. For the day I set off for the military camp, the sky was just beginning to lighten, the morning fog was heavy, and the grey sky felt like the gloom that had weighed on my heart for so long. My mother got up early to pack my things. There wasn't much luggage. Just a few changes of clothes, some basic medicine, and an encrypted USB drive containing backups of all my evidence. Throughout the journey, she held back her tears, not daring to cry in front of me, afraid that I would worry while away from home. It wasn't until she saw me off at the station, watching the bus that was about to depart, that she couldn't help but redden her eyes. Holding my hand, she gave me repeated instructions. Take good care of yourself in the army. Don't push yourself too hard in training. Rest when you're tired. Don't worry about home. I'll be waiting for you to come back. Focus on your training. I'll let you know the moment anything happens with the Xia family. I hugged my mother, my heart both aching and steady. Mom, I've put you through so much, I said in a low voice. All these days, because of me, she had endured countless scornful looks, endless gossip, and deliberate hardships, all silently borne. Mom shook her head and wiped the moisture from the corner of her eyes. I'm not wronged. My daughter did nothing wrong. The ones at fault are those black-hearted Avilders. Sooner or later, justice will return to us. After saying goodbye to Mom, I boarded the bus heading to the military camp. The vehicle slowly pulled away from the familiar streets, the scenery outside the window receding bit by bit, leaving all those harsh comparisons and criticisms far behind. Along the way, I happened to run into two high school classmates from the same year. They recognized me and knew I was going to enlist. Seeing the simple bag I carried, their eyes immediately took on a mocking glint. Oh, Su Qinghe, you're really joining the army, a top student ending up like this. How pathetic. Liu Yuchuan and Xia Wanru are making waves in the capital now, while you have no choice but to enlist. The gap between people is just too huge. They chimed in one after another, not bothering to spare my feelings, openly making fun of me. In the past, I might have felt sad, wronged, and couldn't help but defend myself, but now, I only find it laughable. They only see the surface illusion, not knowing the truth, yet they casually define others. I can't be bothered to argue or waste my breath. I just gave them a faint glance, said nothing, and turned to look out the window. Seeing that I was cold and uninteresting, they found it dull and stopped gathering around me to gossip. Instead, they turned to talk about Xia Wanru's charm, their words filled with envy. After a long and winding journey, we finally arrived at the training camp. The moment I stepped into the military camp, the tension that had gripped me for so long suddenly eased by half. Here, discipline is strict, and management is closed off. Outsiders cannot come and go freely, and news from the outside world is hard to get in. No matter how powerful the Xia family is, they can't reach into the military. This is currently my safest and most concealed hiding place. After completing the enlistment registration, dormitories were assigned and supplies were distributed. Officially beginning the recruit training life. The long recruit training was like a coarse cloth soaked in sweat, day after day wrapped in monotony and exhaustion, grinding until even the crevices of one's bones ached, before dawn had fully broken. The whistle pierced the silence of the camp. I had to quickly follow the squad out of the dormitory building. The footsteps of the morning run were steady and forceful, and every breath was filled with cold air. Standing in formation under the scorching sun for an hour at a time, sweat trickled down my forehead, splashing onto the camouflage uniform and leaving dark stains. The shirt on my back clung to my skin, stuffy and itchy. The instructor's commands repeated over and over: head up, chest out, stomach in. I stared at the back of the person in front of me, correcting my posture again and again. My arms ached and trembled, but I dared not move an inch, having spent years buried in books. My physical fitness was naturally weak. In the first few days, my whole body ached, and I struggled to keep up with the group's pace. Occasionally, the instructor would call me out by name by evening. As others dragged their exhausted bodies back to the dormitory to rest, I had to stay behind for extra physical training. Running lap after lap around the training ground, my legs felt as heavy as lead, every step requiring gritted teeth, and my throat burned with a fiery pain. Lin Xiao, who shared the dormitory with me, was crouching by the wall again, crying. Her shoulders trembled as she choked out in a low voice, "I really can't take it anymore. If I had known it would be this hard, I would never have joined the army, even if it killed me." She had been pampered since childhood, rarely even doing housework. So how could she endure such intense training? A few other girls gathered around to comfort her, their voices filled with grievance and regret. Some complained about the harshness of the training, while others murmured about the comfort of home. I leaned against the railing of the training ground, unscrewed my water bottle, and took a sip. The burning sensation in my throat eased slightly. I never uttered a single complaint. The physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in my heart, compared to the despair of having my life stolen, finding no one to turn to for help, and enduring endless humiliation. This bit of training hardship was nothing at all. Every time I grit my teeth and push through, every time I tough it out, I am tempering my character, making me more resilient, calmer, and better able to hold my composure. During the first 5-kilometer training run, I fell to the back of the pack, gasping almost to the point of suffocation, my legs weak, and my vision flickering with darkness. A few whispers came from behind me, not loud, but they pierced clearly into my ears. "Look at her, she's just a bookworm, only good at studying, can't even keep up with a run." Exactly, with such delicate skin, how could she endure this kind of hardship? She'll probably be weeded out before long. The wind carried those words, making my cheeks burn. I clenched my fists, slowed my breathing, and trudged forward step by step. Weeded out? I can't be weeded out. Even if I have to fight to my last breath, I must endure steadily. Throughout the entire recruit training period, I remained as diligent as I was in my senior year of high school. While others rested, I stayed alone on the training ground, repeatedly practicing the movements taught by the instructors. If I couldn't do a push-up, I would hold myself up on the ground and persist little by little. If you can't keep up with running, add half a lap each day and gradually increase your speed. If you can't grasp the techniques of equipment training, take the opportunity to quietly ask the squad leader when they're free, and even a simple tip, remember it in your heart and ponder it repeatedly. I don't aim to be the best or stand out from the crowd. I only seek progress in every training session and aim to pass every assessment steadily. As long as I'm not eliminated and can endure the entire recruit training period, my plan can still continue. Squad leader Lee, a veteran with 5 years of service, had sharp eyes and a meticulous demeanor. He spoke little on ordinary days but observed with remarkable precision. She must have noticed something different about me. The tenacity buried deep in my bones, though I appeared quiet and gentle. There was a stubborn, unyielding fierceness hidden in my eyes. No matter how exhausted I was, I never uttered a single complaint. Even when ridiculed, I never gave up. One evening, after an extra training session ended and darkness had fallen, she walked over with a flashlight, shining it on my sweat-soaked face. Her tone was utterly calm. "Don't hold your breath when running, adjust your breathing. Take smaller steps. It saves energy and makes you faster." She paused for a moment, then added, "No. Your limits. Don't push yourself too hard. Your body is your capital. Only those who endure to the end are the true winners." I straightened up, saluted, and said in a hoarse but firm voice, "Thank you, squad leader. I understand." Life in the military camp was simple, almost pure. There were no gossiping relatives or neighbors, no coercion or bribery from the Xia family, and no false pretenses from Lu Yuchuan. Here, everyone wore the same camouflage uniforms, followed the same daily routine, and the only criteria for judging a person were training performance and discipline. There was no background, no power, no prejudice. The longer I stay, the calmer I feel inside. The surging hatred and the suppressed grievances gradually settle down through day-to-day training, transforming into the strength that keeps me going. With limited rest time and strict phone control, I rarely gather with other comrades to chat. Most of the time, I either lean against the headboard with my eyes closed to rest and relieve physical fatigue, or I quickly call my mom during the brief 10+ minutes when phone use is allowed. During our weekly contact, my mom always rambles on about what happened to her that week, who's gossiping behind my back again, talking about how impressive Xia Wanru's parents are. Yet they show no trace of guilt when they see her. I don't say much, just listen quietly, while silently noting another score in my mind. Every night after the dorm lights go out, I lie on the hard bed, close my eyes, and replay all the evidence, all the procedures, and all the risks over and over in my mind. Then the next day, I threw myself into training wholeheartedly, not allowing myself to overthink. On the other hand, Xia Wanru's days at Qingbei under my name were far from easy. Although she sat steadily in Qingbei's classrooms, enjoying the nation's top educational resources, her own academic performance fell short compared to Qingbei students. She simply couldn't keep up with the pace of the courses, and a sense of insecurity crept in. Yet she dared not show it, barely managing to muddle through her studies while relying on the Xia family's connections and wealth to desperately maintain her perfect persona. In my social circle, it's all about exquisite campus daily life, library check-ins, scenic views of prestigious schools, and sweet photos with Lu Yuchuan taking advantage of his daughter's fame. Father Xia socializes everywhere, elevating his own status and position. Basking in the glow of being the father of a Tsinghua Peking University talented daughter, he continuously expands his network and power, living a thriving life. They have completely let down their guard against me. In their eyes, I have fully resigned to my fate, destined to live out my life like this. Incapable of stirring up even the slightest ripple, Lu Yuchuan also got into a prestigious university in the capital. Because he was with Xia Wanru, his life was thriving. He shamelessly clung to Xia Wanru, using this connection to pave his own way, without a shred of guilt for how he had conspired against me and pretended to be gentle to deceive me back then. But at this moment, I had no time to focus on them, because the new recruit assessment had arrived as scheduled. Physical fitness, drill formation, internal affairs, and basic theory. These 4 items, with a comprehensive score, directly determined whether I could smoothly enter the next phase of training, and also affected my eligibility for the National Defense Supplementary Admission. On the day of the assessment, I took a deep breath, suppressed all emotions within me, and maintained my usual calm and composure. During the long-distance run, I regulated my breathing, steadily kept pace with the team, neither rushing nor seeking to be the fastest, only aiming to finish steadily. During the formation drill, I stood tall with a straight posture, executed each move precisely, and dared not make the slightest mistake. When tidying up the dormitory, I folded the quilt into a neat square, like a block of tofu, and cleaned the desk until it was spotless. During the basic theory exam, I carefully reviewed each question and answered them meticulously, handling everyone with composure. When the final assessment results were posted, my score ranked moderately high, neither conspicuous nor flawed, and I passed the evaluation perfectly. Standing before the notice board, I gazed at my name, and a sudden sense of settled calm washed over me. The moment the results were submitted, I knew that the National Defense University had already received my interim evaluation simultaneously, and the process of file review and verification was steadily progressing. The wind swept across the training ground, lifting the corner of my camouflage uniform, carrying the summer heat along with a trace of steadfast hope. I looked up into the distance, my gaze cool and resolute, without hesitation or retreat, only an unwavering determination to succeed. The real show has only just begun. 6. With the successful conclusion of the midterm assessment for new recruits, the next step is the political review. Unlike the standard political review for enlistment, this review of mine is conducted through a special talent supplementary recruitment channel for the National Defense University. It is directly mandated by higher authorities, jointly verified by the Provincial Education Department and the Provincial Household Registration and Archives Centre, and operates in a fully closed loop, with local authorities having no right to intervene. It is precisely because of this ultra-high level of authority that the Shia family's path to meddling has been completely cut off. But I dare not let my guard down. Shia Fu had been deeply entrenched in the small city for years, with a complex network of connections in officialdom. He was ruthless and cunning in his dealings, and as long as there was even the slightest crack, he would find a way to worm his way in, trying to destroy everything I had. It was only after I learned the details from the teacher in charge that I realized the political review would retrieve my academic records from childhood to adulthood, including original high school exam archives and admission records. The focus would be on verifying all the materials related to high school enrollment, because the old archives from the local education bureau years ago could have been tampered with. When I read that sentence, I instantly understood. Back then, Shia Wanru's impersonation of me could never have been as simple as just swapping an admission letter to pull off their deception. They must have paid someone to tamper with the academic records in the system, forged the enrollment registration, and erased my real admission records, so that Shia Wanru could walk into Qingbei University under my identity. Those leftover traces in the archives are their biggest flaw. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away at the provincial archives, the political review team is retrieving the original provincial college entrance examination records. When the staff opened the brand new records, they saw Su Qinghe, first choice Qingbei University, admission confirmation signed, with scores, ranking, and registration all complete. How is this Su Qinghe showing as already enrolled? After discovering the issue, the working group immediately initiated a comparison of grassroots files and dispatched personnel to liaise with the Municipal Education Bureau under the guise of a routine annual file spot check. In the small town, Father Shia was accompanying a client for tea when he received a call from an acquaintance on the phone. The acquaintance spoke casually. "Old Shia, it's just a routine file spot check, nothing major. I'll handle it casually." Xiaofu let out a sneer and waved his hand dismissively. "Got it, just don't mess things up. Is this trivial matter even worth reporting to me?" After hanging up, he continued chatting and laughing with the client, not giving the spot check a second thought. But he had no idea that at that moment, in the Education Bureau's archives room, the political review staff were staring at the computer screen with furrowed brows. In the local system, the latter half of my academic records stood out glaringly. The signature on the enrollment approval was crooked, completely different from the handwriting in my high school files. The photo had been replaced. There were multiple gaps in the process, and obvious signs of tampering were everywhere. Mark the suspicious points and immediately sync with the higher-ups. That same day, the suspicious report was sent to the liaison department of the National Defense University. The old acquaintance in the Education Bureau who had been helping the Shia family felt a sudden panic as he watched the staff repeatedly cross-check this year's college entrance examination files and frequently ask about Su Qinghe's name. Taking advantage of the staff's break, he sneaked into the stairwell and made an urgent call to Shia's father, lowering his voice to a whisper. "Old Shia, something's off. This inspection isn't just a formality. They're digging into this year's college admissions and even asking about Su Qinghe's student records. This is getting sensitive. You need to figure something out fast." Shia Fu slammed his teacup onto the table with a thud. His face instantly darkening, he hung up the phone and immediately dialed the numbers of several acquaintances, speaking urgently, "Help me find out what this file inspection is all about, and quickly figure out a way to alter Su Qinghe's academic records, erase all the flaws." But on the other end of the line, responses were either hesitant or outright evasive. "Old Shia, it's impossible this time. The inspectors are sent by higher-ups, and we have no say in the matter. Anyone who dares to alter the files would be crossing a red line. They'd lose their job. There's nothing I can do about it. They simply won't engage with us. They only ask us to cooperate by providing materials and won't let us handle anything else." Every call he made hit a dead end. Shia's father sat at his desk, his fingers gripping the pen so tightly that his knuckles turned white. For the first time, he realized that the network he had cultivated for years was utterly fragile in the face of absolute authority. In the past, he could suppress my reports, delete my posts, and block my path, but this time, the other side didn't give him any chance to act. At that moment on the street, my mother was walking slowly, carrying a vegetable basket. She wore an ordinary cotton coat, her hair casually tied back, looking unremarkable. As she passed by the Education Bureau, she noticed many staff members coming and going, all with serious expressions. Mom shifted her gaze without a change in expression, walked to the market, and chatted casually with the vegetable vendor she often bought from. "Why are so many people coming and going from the Education Bureau today?" The vendor pursed her lips and lowered her voice. "Don't even mention it. I heard they're checking files from above, and it seems they found something serious." Mom's heart stirred, but she asked calmly, "What did they find?" "Something about college admissions. Someone used connections to alter files." Mom nodded, paid, and left. By the time I could use my phone, I saw the message Mom had sent. "Qinghe, it seems someone has come to check on the file." The heavy stone in my heart slowly settled. Finally, everything was coming to an end. In the military camp, training continued as usual. Every day, I followed the squad for morning runs, stood in formation, and practiced with equipment. During this time, 3 unfamiliar numbers kept calling and texting me. All the numbers were from my hometown, and the messages were vague. "Qinghe, I heard you're doing well in the army. Are you still holding a grudge about the college incident? Someone wants to talk to you. It'll be good for you." I immediately blocked all 3 numbers. My liaison officer had warned me long ago that during the political review, I was not allowed to contact anyone of unknown identity from my hometown, to avoid being tricked into talking or recorded, leaving behind any leverage. I strictly followed the rules. Apart from necessary contact with my mother, I completely cut off all irrelevant communication, hiding myself within the safe barrier of the military camp. The undercurrents in the small town were growing increasingly turbulent. Xia Wanru's first exam results at Qingbei came out. She failed 4 major courses and barely passed 2. Her counselor called her into the office and warned her sternly, "If your final grades are still like this, the school will issue an academic warning, and in severe cases, your admission may be revoked." Xia Wanru's face turned pale, her whole body trembling. After walking out of the office, she burst into tears on the spot. She took out her phone and dialed Lu Yuchuan's number. Speaking hysterically, "It's all your fault. I asked you to help me look up information before, but you just brushed me off. Now I've failed my courses. If I get expelled, I won't let you off." Lu Yuchuan was in the school library, fuming from her scolding but dared not talk back. His parents back in his hometown told him that the Xia family had been acting strangely lately. The Education Bureau's investigation had spread, and the matter of Su Qinghe might no longer be concealable. After hanging up the phone, he quietly opened his phone's photo album, which contained chat records with Xia Wanru, as well as a recording of Xia's father telling him to keep me steady and buy them time, all of which were his escape routes. If things really came to light, he would shift all the blame onto Xia Wanru. 7. One weekend, after my phone was handed back to me, I unexpectedly received a friend request. I recognized it at a glance. It was Lu Yuchuan. He had switched to a new account, avoided all mutual friends, secretly found my contact information, and reached out to me on his own. I didn't approve it right away, leaving the request hanging in the list, coldly watching his little moves. Not long after, he sent another friend request, his tone deliberately softened, laced with a hint of feigned guilt and helplessness. Chinghe, long time no see, I know you hate me, and I don't expect your forgiveness. Back then, many things weren't done of my own will, I had my reasons, I was forced into them. Are you doing well in the military now? I've been feeling uneasy about what happened before. Every word and sentence is an attempt to play the victim, whitewash the past, and try to absolve himself, pretending to be a helpless victim. I stared at the familiar name on the screen, feeling nothing but absurdity. Back then, he was the one who coldly broke up with me in public, trampling on my dignity with the most contemptuous tone. It was he who pretended to be gentle, staying by my side for 2 months, gradually probing into my admission progress, calming my emotions, and cooperating with Xie Wanru to carry out the entire scheme of substitution. After it was done, he guiltlessly threw himself into Xie Wanru's arms, climbed up by stepping on my future, drew a clear line with me, allowed the whole city to mock me, and coldly watched my desperate situation. Now, with the political review closing in, he sensed something was wrong, panicked, and wanted to come back to me to fish for information. I wanted to see what he was up to, so I accepted his request. Before he could continue playing the victim, I cut straight to the chase, my tone cold and piercing, with not a trace of past affection. Just say what you have to say, no need to beat around the bush or put on an act. Lu Yuchuan probably didn't expect me to be so cold. He paused for a moment, then continued, Chinghe, I just wanted to ask, have you still been looking into the admission issue lately? You're in the military now, starting a new chapter in life, and since being a soldier has such a promising future, there's no point dwelling on the past. It's useless. Some things, if blown out of proportion, won't do you any good either. You know the Xie family's strength. You can't fight them. At this point, the purpose was laid bare. He was here to test the waters, testing whether I had given up the investigation, testing how much evidence I still held, testing whether the upper-level file review was something I was pushing behind the scenes. He was afraid that I would overturn everything, afraid that his involvement in evil deeds would be exposed to the public and destroy everything he has now. I let out a cold laugh and directly tore through all his disguises. You're afraid that I'll fight back? Afraid that your cooperation with Xie Wanru to stabilize me, hide the truth, and watch me be replaced will all be dug up. The moment the message was sent, there was a long silence on the other end. After a long time, Lu Yuchuan finally sent a message, tinged with the panic of embarrassment and anger. At this point, what's the point of saying all this? Back then, it was your own bad luck. Wanru being able to smoothly take your place in school, that's her skill. I just made the most reasonable choice. If you insist on a fight to the bitter end, in the end, you'll only drag everyone down, including yourself. A reasonable choice. So in his eyes, betrayal, scheming, aiding the wicked, and trampling on someone's 12 years of hard work were all just reasonable choices. I am utterly disheartened. With not a single ripple left, I directly pulled out several screenshots of our chat records from back then, all of which were his exact words when he coaxed and prevented me from checking my admission information. What I have in my hands is far more than you can imagine. Every single thing you were involved in back then, every word you said, I've kept them all. Live your life and mind your own business. Don't come provoking me, or I won't hesitate to drag you down with me. A few short words directly shattered all his wishful thinking. Lu Yuchuan was completely panicked. He no longer dared to pretend to test me, hastily dropped a warning, blocked me, and ran off, never daring to contact me again. I calmly saved the chat records from this exchange. Lu Yuchuan's probing also served as a subtle reminder to me. The Xie family must have already sensed something unsettling, starting to probe around and secretly guard themselves, but for now, they don't know the specifics, so they can only make small moves in private, not daring to act openly. Sure enough, a few days later, my mother sent me a message. Xia's father secretly sent people to inquire about my military unit's address, trying to pull strings and find someone to check on my state, to see if I still harbored any resentment. Fortunately, the military unit had strict controls, and outsiders couldn't get any internal information at all. All of the Xie family's attempts came to nothing. Unwilling to give up, Xia's father then tried to target my mother. He deliberately arranged for former acquaintances and distant relatives to visit and probe indirectly, their words laced with veiled threats. My mother kept my advice in mind, maintaining a calm attitude, brushing things off perfunctorily, and occasionally playing the victim. My daughter has been forced by you all to join the military. What more do you want? The Xia family's repeated probing attempts failed, leaving them increasingly restless. They vaguely sensed that higher-ups were investigating old student records, but they couldn't find out the specific purpose or trace the source, leaving them trapped in passive anxiety. Xia Wanru's mental state deteriorated further. Her grades continued to plummet, and she lived in constant fear of being exposed. Her relationship with Lu Yuchuan completely fell apart, filled with mutual suspicion and blame. Time flew by, and the long yet intense recruit training officially came to an end. The final ultimate assessment arrived as scheduled. This assessment was not only the graduation evaluation for ordinary recruits but also a critical threshold for me to embark on the next phase of my plan. The National Defense University explicitly informed me that I can only be officially admitted after passing all the recruit assessments and obtaining a qualified completion evaluation. Otherwise, all my efforts over the past 6 months will be in vain. The evening before the assessment, after training ended, the atmosphere in the dormitory was tense. Lin Xiao practiced her formation movements repeatedly in front of the mirror, her brows furrowed tightly. If I fail the physical fitness assessment again, I'll really be sent back to my hometown, and my mom will definitely scold me to death. 2 girls beside her were cramming the theory question bank, muttering to themselves, not even bothering to eat dinner. Everyone is filled with anxiety, pushing themselves desperately, afraid that a single oversight will waste half a year's hard work. I sit on the edge of the bed, slowly wiping my training shoes, my movements unhurried. My fingertips trace the worn patterns on the shoe surface, marks left by half a year of morning runs and drills, from being out of breath after just 3 kilometers at the start, to now steadily keeping up with the team through 5 kilometers, from struggling to perform even the basic movements of equipment training correctly, to now being able to complete all subjects in a standardized manner. My physical fitness has long kept pace, and my discipline, conduct, and housekeeping have never lagged behind. On the day of the assessment, just as dawn broke, the whistle pierced the silence of the camp. All the new recruits assembled and headed to various assessment points in batches. The instructor's tone was stern. Give it your all, no cheating. Those who fail will be eliminated directly. The first subject was the physical fitness assessment, a 5-kilometer long-distance run. As soon as the starting gun fired, everyone dashed forward. Lin Xiao went all out from the very beginning, running at the front of the pack, but before long, he gradually slowed down, his face turning pale. I maintained a steady pace, adjusted my breathing, and ran step by step without rushing, neither falling too far behind nor deliberately pushing ahead. By the last kilometer, my legs began to ache, and my throat felt like it was on fire. I gritted my teeth, clenched my fists, and crossed the finish line steadily, achieving a passing result. Next came the comprehensive tactical assessment, crawling forward, camouflage concealment, and tactical maneuvers. I performed each one strictly according to the instructor's standards, with no unnecessary movements and no mistakes. In the afternoon, there were the theoretical exam and the daily conduct evaluation. The questions on the theory exam were all content I had studied during regular training. I carefully reviewed each question, answered them stroke by stroke, and left no questions unanswered or answered incorrectly. My daily conduct evaluation benefited from my low-key and steady demeanor over the past 6 months. My housekeeping always met the standards, and I never had any disciplinary violations. So my score was naturally excellent throughout the entire process. I followed the steps methodically, steadily, and firmly, remaining as calm as if I had just completed an ordinary daily training session. On the 3rd day after the assessment ended, the comprehensive evaluation results were officially announced. I squeezed through the crowd, my eyes quickly scanning the names on the bulletin board. I found Su Qinghe in the middle, with the words "all qualified, approved for graduation" clearly written behind it. I didn't cheer or get excited, I just silently turned around, walked to the corner of the training ground, and took out my phone. A message from the liaison teacher had already arrived, only 2 short lines: assessment passed, all prerequisites met. Within a week, the military inspection team will initiate the special file review process. Full confidentiality maintained throughout. My fingertips paused briefly, and I put the phone back into my pocket. The wind swept across the training ground, lifting the corners of my camouflage uniform. In the distance, the flag fluttered and snapped in the breeze. There were no tears of grievance, no emotional outbursts, only a calm sense of finality, as if everything had settled into place. After more than half a year of torment, from the disappearance of my admission letter after the college entrance exam, to being publicly abandoned by Lu Yuchuan, having my identity usurped by Xia Wanru, then being blocked at every turn when I tried to report the injustice, having my online posts deleted, and being pushed to the brink with no way out, those days of treading carefully and scheming step by step were finally coming to an end. I took out my phone and dialed my mother's number. "Mom, I passed the assessment, I got accepted, there will be news within a week." My voice was very low, my tone calm, but the trembling at the end still gave away my excitement. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line, followed by my mother's slightly shaky voice. Good child. Mom knew you could do it. Mom is waiting for you to come back, 1,000 miles away." Xia Wanru had just barely made it through her final exams. Scraping by with passing grades in 4 major courses, temporarily dodging the academic probation warning, she let out a huge sigh of relief, immediately picked up her phone, took a photo of the library, and captioned it, "Survived finals, lived up to the effort." The comment section was still full of praise. Some admired her talent, others commended her hard work. She looked at the screen, a smug smile curling at the corners of her mouth. Xia's father was completely at ease. The earlier file spot check had no follow-up, just a formality. He was convinced the storm had already passed. He resumed his usual high-profile lifestyle, shuttling between various social engagements every day, living life to the fullest, completely unaware that a devastating disaster was quietly brewing. Lu Yuchuan still clung cautiously to Xia Wanru's side after being warned by me last time. He completely dared not test the waters or make any unusual moves. He accompanied Xia Wanru every day, helping her copy homework, look up materials, and enduring her willfulness and temper. Yet his heart was filled with fear. He vaguely sensed that the stability of the Xia family was not solid, so he secretly kept more evidence to secure a way out for himself. They are all in their own worlds, enjoying the stolen peace. Yet no one knows that thousands of miles away, a special file review led by the military inspection team has entered its final preparation stage. Lu Yuchuan, Xia Wanru, what you owe me will soon be repaid one by one. This long overdue justice is finally coming. 9. On the 7th day after the successful conclusion of the recruit training, my schoolteacher informed me that the military verification team had officially begun the file review, marking the start of the enrollment process. This verification was of the highest standard, supervised by designated personnel from the direct superior department, with a fully encrypted process. It was not publicly announced, no advance notice was given to local authorities, and no personal connections at the grassroots level were utilized. Instead, all core files were directly accessed through a bypass of the usual hierarchy. The first issue to be uncovered was in the enrollment record. Tsinghua and Peking University have retrieved the original registration records for fall enrollment, with the underlying system logs showing the official admission and registration records, including reserved identity information, candidate file numbers, and college entrance examination rankings. All correspond to Su Qinghe. However, the current student attending classes under a stolen identity, Xia Wanru, has multiple forged entries in her registration records, the photocopy of her ID card, household registration certificate, and admission signatures all show clear signs of tampering and identity substitution. Subsequently, a comparison of the original provincial college entrance examination records was completed. My college entrance exam scores, provincial ranking, order of volunteer, applications, and university admission receipt are all complete and authentic, perfectly matching the transcript in my hand. In contrast, Xia Wanru's original college entrance exam scores from that year fell far short of the admission threshold for Tsinghua and Peking University, and she was not qualified for admission at all. Her entry into Tsinghua and Peking University, from start to finish, relied entirely on theft, bribery, and the manipulation of power. Finally, the verification team contacted the local small city education bureau to retrieve the original paper file transfer records and the notification letter mailing and delivery receipts from that year. The admission letter from Tsinghua and Peking University that year was clearly recorded in the postal system, normal delivery. Local receipt, however, the recipient was neither me nor any of my family members. The internal transfer records of the Education Bureau were deliberately deleted and altered, with key processes missing, and the handlers intentionally concealing the whereabouts of the transfer. Clues are interconnected, and pieces of evidence corroborate each other. The entire verification process was conducted in a fully closed-loop manner, with strict confidentiality maintained. In the distant small town, the Xia family received not a single hint of news. All the connections Xia's father had cultivated and the relationships he had maintained with money proved utterly useless in the face of a task supervised at such a high level. He couldn't even glean a shred of inside information. It wasn't until the verification team had compiled the first round of evidence, identified 3 former staff members from the small town's education bureau who had handled the case, and prepared to conduct on-site investigations, that local officials began to feel a faint sense of panic. The insiders who had handled matters for the Xia family, taken bribes, and tampered with files were the first to sense something was wrong. Their superiors suddenly requested archived files multiple times, checked admission records, and specifically inquired about the student status of past candidates. All signs pointed directly to that shady deal from years ago. Panic spread among them, each suspecting the others. Fearing exposure, dreading accountability and imprisonment, their work became erratic, full of slip-ups. Xia Wanru was the last to realize the crisis. She grew up under the shelter of her parents, never worrying about food or clothing, arrogant and willful, caring only about the glamour and pleasure in front of her, never considering the risks behind it. She still went to class, went shopping, and had dinners with friends every day, indulging in a false halo, completely unaware of the impending disaster. The evening breeze had just swept across the training ground. I was wiping the sweat from my forehead and heading back to the dormitory when a teacher stopped me as I approached. Su Qinghe, I need to confirm something with you. Did you know that your student status has been taken over by someone else? I paused, the towel in my hand tightening as my fingers clenched. Without showing much emotion, I simply nodded and replied, "Yeah, I know. Back then, I went to the Education Bureau, but they turned me away." Seeing this, the teacher patted me on the shoulder and spoke in a steady tone, reassuring me, "Don't worry, the investigation team already knows. Your student status will be restored. This has nothing to do with you, and it won't affect your enrollment. We've sorted out all the paperwork for you." He paused, his gaze turning colder, "And as for those who pulled strings and took your spot through the back door, none of them will get away. The investigation team has already locked onto leads, and they will be held accountable to the fullest extent. You'll get an explanation." I looked up at him, the gloom that had been weighing on my eyes finally beginning to lift. "Thank you, teacher." The wind blows again, carrying the scent of grass and trees from the camp. The streetlights in the distance flicker on, casting a dim yellow glow at my feet. The filth hidden in the gutters, the shameful deeds that shun the light, the crimes that stole my future and employed every trick. Soon, this thorough investigation will turn them all upside down, exposing them completely to the sunlight, leaving no place to hide. 10. The online file comparison has come to a close. The Education Bureau, my high school, the main post office, and the household registration office are all acting in sync. Electronic records can be cleared in the background or tampered with manually, but the handwritten files locked away in the storeroom can never be completely destroyed. Every piece of deliberately erased dirt is firmly nailed onto the pages. In the meeting room of my alma mater's academic affairs office, the atmosphere was tense to the extreme. My high school homeroom teacher was summoned for a private talk, fingers gripping the previous year's grade sheets tightly, voice lowered to a whisper, each word piercing through the truth. Su Chinghe was ranked first in the entire school back then, far ahead of everyone else. Getting into a top-tier university was a sure thing. The grade coordinator's face turned grim as he took over the conversation, a hint of helplessness hidden in his eyes. After the college entrance exam, she waited for her admission letter, but it never came. The school proactively inquired with the Education Bureau, only to have the matter suppressed from above. A single sentence shut down all further investigation, just saying her file was abnormal and her application void, ordering us not to ask any more questions. Several veteran teachers spoke up one after another, each word confirming the inside story of deliberate suppression. The grade ranking list, printed in black and white, lay spread out on the table, ironclad evidence, clear for all to see. On the other side, in the old postal warehouse, the staff directly pulled out the delivery log from 6 months ago. The delivery number and date were clearly recorded, while the receiving address for my admission letter was conspicuously registered as the Shia family's vacant old house. The inspector tapped a finger on the line of hastily forged signatures, his expression cold and grim. The letter was intercepted midway and deliberately redirected. No room for doubt. One piece of evidence after another came to light, and I also handed over the evidence I had kept to the school teachers. In the recording, the arrogant tone of the Education Bureau staff who had obstructed my report back then was clear and jarring. In the video, the faces of Shia Wanru's parents as they came to the door to curse and threaten were fully exposed. There were also screenshots of the expose forcibly deleted by the platform, and chat records of Liu Yuchuan's fake reassurances and deliberate deception. Each piece, each link, interconnected. The chain of evidence is completely locked down, and the verification team has made a conclusive determination on the spot: malicious power for money deals, deliberate identity theft, undermining educational fairness. All public officials involved will be held accountable, and a public investigation must be conducted. The news can no longer be suppressed. Fragments of whispers slowly spread through the inner workings of the system, stirring undercurrents in the small town, with everyone discussing it in private. Shia Wanru's spot at the prestigious school didn't come from a clean source. At first, no one was willing to believe it. For so many years, the Shia family, relying on money and connections, had packaged Shia Wanru as a role model for the entire city. Official media coverage was overwhelming, and everyone was deceived by this glamorous facade. But as the inside story gradually leaked out, all the past suspicions were dug up. Always average in high school, pulled off a stunning reversal in the college entrance exam. Family suddenly struck it rich. Coasted through a prestigious university by cheating and hiring ghostwriters. Layer upon layer of suspicion piled up, and the public instantly snapped to attention. With doubts erupting into a full-blown uproar, the local propaganda department panicked instantly, pulling down all promotional content about Shia Wanru overnight, deleting reports, removing posters, erasing all official endorsements, desperately cutting ties to save themselves. Shia's father was the first to smell the stench of death. He frantically dialed one familiar number after another, whispering, "Please, help me suppress this matter, whatever the cost." But those who once fawned around him were now all cold and distant, each word avoiding involvement. A case under cross-level supervision. Whoever touches it dies. I can't help you. Repeatedly hitting walls, repeatedly being rejected. Father Shia gripped his phone, his knuckles tightening fiercely, his back turning ice cold. It was only then that he suddenly realized, I was hiding in the military camp, holding on to high-level channels he could never reach. The power and connections he prided himself on were utterly worthless under the crushing weight of absolute rules. The household completely erupted into chaos. Mother Shia spent her days huddled in the living room, her eyes red as she broke down in tears, screaming hysterically at Father Shia, "I told you from the start not to be too greedy. You insisted on snatching away someone else's child's future, and now look." The whole family is going to be dragged down by you. Xia Wanru, far away in the capital, was strolling and laughing with classmates when an urgent call from her advisor suddenly came in, his tone stern and icy. Student Su Qing, please come to the advisor's office immediately. There is a serious issue of academic fraud regarding your enrollment. Cooperate with the investigation at once. This sentence struck like a thunderbolt, leaving Xia Wanru frozen stiff. The milk tea in her hand crashed heavily to the ground, sugar splattering everywhere. Her face turned pale, her whole body trembling, and the next moment she crouched by the roadside, unable to move, having lived in the spotlight her entire life. She simply couldn't accept that the prestigious school identity she prided herself on was about to vanish into thin air. In the end, she was carried into the counselor's office by her classmates. As soon as he heard that Xia Wanru was in trouble, Lu Yuchuan immediately prepared the materials to exonerate himself on one hand, deleting all intimate records with Xia Wanru, while fabricating excuses to whitewash himself, insisting that he was kept in the dark throughout, forced to comply, unaware, and blameless. The selfishness and coldness of human nature are laid bare in this moment. When disaster strikes, romantic bonds and past affections become utterly insignificant. Everyone is busy protecting themselves, cutting ties, and clearing their names, but no matter how much they deny and plead for mercy, the thick, complete case files compiled by the review team, witnesses, physical evidence, audio and video recordings, and paper records, have all been archived and sealed, formally submitted to higher authorities for approval, just waiting for the official order. None of them will get away. 11. The higher-level approval came through swiftly without any delay. The official announcements from the Provincial Department of Education and both Tsinghua and Peking universities were released on time, publicly disclose the full truth of the case where Xia Wanru impersonated Su Qinghe and stole admission to a top university. The notice is clear and forceful in every word and sentence, detailing the entire process of the case. Xia Wanru's parents used their power and connections to bribe Education Bureau staff, tamper with Su Qinghe's academic records, forge admission procedures, intercept the admission letter, and instructed Xia Wanru to enroll under a false identity. At the same time, it has been verified that the Xia family, in an attempt to cover up their crimes, repeatedly suppressed Su Qinghe, intercepted reports, blocked online exposés, and issued threats and intimidation in person. They abused their power to manipulate local public opinion. With egregious circumstances and a severe nature, the notice clearly states the outcome. Qingbei institutions immediately revoked Xia Wanru's forged student status, cancelled all her qualifications at the school, and permanently banned her from applying to any higher education institutions. Xia's father is suspected of bribery, abuse of power, tampering with official records, and threatening the personal safety of citizens. He is being investigated in accordance with the law, with all duties suspended and all assets under review. Xia's mother is suspected of participating in joint criminal activities and assisting in threats and intimidation, and is under investigation in accordance with the law. All Education Bureau staff who assisted the Xia family in handling matters and accepted bribes have been suspended from their posts, investigated, and held accountable according to the law. The local Education Bureau has been ordered to conduct a comprehensive rectification, publicly apologize to Su Qinghe, and compensate her for emotional distress and economic losses. As soon as the notice was released, it instantly set the entire internet ablaze. Trending topics are topping the charts one after another. Tsinghua and Peking University's talented woman turns out to be an imposter. Xia family abuses power to steal a life. Su Qing has stolen future. And other topics garnered over 100 million views in just 1 hour. Netizens erupted in fury, with anger, condemnation, and sympathy instantly flooding all related discussions. Disgusting. Just because they have power and influence, they think they can act with impunity, stealing 12 years of someone's hard work and study. Xia Wanru is nothing but a thief. She steals others' achievements, enjoys a life that isn't hers, and pretends to be a talented woman, hypocritical to the core. My heart aches for Su Qinghe. She ranked in the top 50 of the province. Yet someone took her place, with no one to turn to for help. It's so unfair. The Xie family is covering the sky with one hand, suppressing the victim. They must be severely punished to give ordinary people justice. The storm of public opinion swept across the nation, and at the center of the storm, my hometown, was in complete uproar. The neighbors, relatives, and friends who once praised Xie Wanru instantly changed their tune. Those who used to come by every few days to mock me and compare me to Xie Wanru all shut their mouths, hiding at home and daring not to step out, afraid of being implicated or blamed. The gossiping aunties who had previously said I was ruining my own future or jealous to the point of madness were now utterly deflated, whispering among themselves, cursing the Xie family for their black hearts, and sympathizing with my plight. The wind direction in the small town had completely reversed. The Xie family, once the envy of all as a wealthy and powerful clan, overnight became despised outcasts, hunted by everyone. Those who once revolved around the Xie family, flattering and currying favor, now all kept their distance, hastily drawing clear boundaries, fearing they might be implicated in the Xie family's sins. The Xie family's companies and shops saw no customers, partners cancelled contracts one after another, banks froze their accounts, and their assets were gradually investigated. The former glory and riches vanished into thin air overnight. Xie Wanru was expelled from Tsinghua and Peking University, fleeing the capital overnight to return home. She dared not go out, dared not see anyone, dared not scroll through her phone, and could only hide at home, surrounded by endless accusations and insults. Once hailed as the pride of the city and prodigy of Tsinghua and Peking University, she was now a reviled imposter and thief, pointed at and mocked wherever she went. The perfect persona she had meticulously crafted had completely collapsed, and all her glamour and brilliance shattered into pieces. Even more devastating, all her dark secrets were completely exposed. In high school, she was jealous of my good grades and repeatedly deliberately targeted and framed me, secretly hiding my study materials and tampering with my answer sheets. After fraudulently entering Tsinghua and Peking University, she plagiarized assignments, cheated on exams, and bullied classmates, barely scraping by with her family's money and connections. Usually arrogant, domineering, vain, and selfish, she looked down on classmates from ordinary families, spoke harshly, and offended many people, one after another. Scandals were exposed, making her situation even worse. The netizens' condemnation grew increasingly fierce, and some even found the Xie family's old residence, shouting at the gate, demanding that the Xie family apologize and compensate, seeking justice for me. Xie Wanru completely collapsed, hiding in her room crying all day, her hair disheveled, her eyes vacant, no longer possessing her former arrogance and pride, having become the person she once despised the most. Lu Yuchuan's days were not much better either. After the case was exposed, his past actions of cooperating with Xie Wanru, concealing the truth, and betraying me were also dug up by netizens. Chat records, testimonies from classmates, and private remarks were all made public. His true nature of currying favor with the powerful, being ungrateful, and aiding the wicked was completely exposed in the sunlight. The university he attended immediately issued a notice, expelling him and permanently revoking his admission qualification. His former friends and classmates all distanced themselves from him, calling him a kept man, an ingrate, and heartless. Wherever he went, he was isolated and despised. To protect himself, just as I expected, he publicly switched sides and shifted all the blame onto the Xie family, claiming that he was coerced and deceived. But with solid evidence, no one believed his lies. His reputation was ruined, he couldn't find a job, and he was ostracized by the entire city. He could only hide in his rented room, living in constant fear, day and night, tormented by his own guilt and the condemnation of others. Far away in the military camp, I watched the reports and public opinion on my phone. Feeling an unusual calm inside, there was no ecstatic joy as I had imagined, no hysterical outburst, only a sense of relief, as if everything had finally settled. More than half a year of forbearance, lying low, and waiting, countless nights of grievance, anger, and struggle. Finally, at this moment. There is an echo, my mother called me, her voice choked with emotion, yet filled with relief and pride. Chingha, justice has come, finally come. Those people have all received the punishment they deserved. You don't have to suffer any more grievances. I held the phone, my eyes slightly burning, but I smiled to comfort her. Mom, I know, from now on, we no longer have to read people's expressions or endure their anger. Yes, they have finally begun to pay the price, but this is far from enough. What I want is not temporary public condemnation, but for them to be completely disgraced and ruined, and for a fair trial under the law. The life that was stolen from me has finally been restored. 12. After the official notice was released, the Shia family was completely trapped in a desperate situation. Shia's father was placed under investigation, all of his assets were frozen, and his former power and connections vanished into thin air. He now awaits the full force of the law. Shia's mother was restricted from going out and subjected to police questioning. She spent her days in tears, dazed and overwhelmed with regret. Shia Wanru hid at home, afraid to go out or face anyone, completely reduced to a nervous wreck with no way out. The Shia family thought of begging for mercy. Shia's mother, along with Shia Wanru, shed their former arrogance and aggression. Dressed in plain clothes and carrying some gifts, they humbly came to my family's old residence, knelt at the doorstep, wept bitterly, and pleaded for forgiveness from me and my mother that day. My mother called me, her tone complicated as she told me about it. Chingha, that mother and son from the Shia family knelt at our doorstep, crying and begging for forgiveness, saying they're willing to give all their money as compensation, begging you to drop the case and let them off. After hearing this, I found it utterly ironic. Back then, they came to threaten me, tossing out 500,000 to silence me, their tone arrogant and overbearing, treating me like an ant and my future like worthless grass. Now that they're at a dead end, they suddenly think of begging for mercy, offering compensation, and remembering that I, too, am someone they deeply hurt. But the damage has already been done. It can't be erased by a simple "I'm sorry" or a sum of compensation. Mom, don't let them in, and don't accept any compensation. My tone was firm, without a hint of hesitation. The mistake was theirs, and justice must be served through proper channels. I won't drop the case, and I won't forgive them. Mom nodded and, following my instructions, did not open the door. Instead, she spoke coldly through it, telling them, "Leave, we do not accept your apology, nor do we accept compensation. You must bear the responsibility you deserve." Outside the door, Shia's mother was crying heartbreakingly, pleading between sobs, "Sister Sue, I know I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I was foolish. I indulged Wanru. Please, for the sake of being neighbors, let us off. Chingha, I know you've been wronged. I'll kowtow to you. I'll apologize to you. Please withdraw the case. Wanru is still young. She can't have her life ruined forever." Shia Wanru also cried along, her voice hoarse and tinged with despair. "Su Chingha, I was wrong. I shouldn't have stolen your spot, shouldn't have been jealous of you. Please forgive me. I won't dare do it again. I'm willing to return everything to you." Their cries attracted many neighbors to gather and watch. Mother never opened the door, letting them kneel at the entrance and cry for the entire afternoon. It wasn't until evening that Mother Shia, exhausted from crying, and Shia Wanru, completely broken down, finally rose in disarray and slunk away from my family's old house. Before leaving, Mother Shia was still wailing and begging, her tone humbled to the dust, but no amount of pleading could bring back what was once lost. After they left, my mother called me, her voice carrying a hint of exhaustion but also a sense of vindication. "They're gone, and they'll never come back. Chingha, you did the right thing. We can't forgive them, and we can't let them off easy. Mom, you've been through a lot," I said softly. Over the past 6 months, she had endured so much hardship and so many scornful looks while staying with me. Now, at last, she could stand tall and no longer take anyone's abuse. "I haven't suffered, Mom hasn't suffered," she said with a smile. "As long as you're doing well, as long as justice prevails, I'm not afraid of anything." On the other side, Shia's father, imprisoned, learned that his family had pleaded for mercy and been rejected, plunging him into utter despair. Unwilling to accept his fate, he tried to reach the outside world through a fellow inmate, spending money to hire someone to continue maneuvering in an attempt to mitigate his guilt, but he had long been disgraced, his connections severed, and no one dared to help him anymore. He once wielded immense power and enjoyed boundless glory. But now he had become a prisoner, stripped even of the most basic freedom. This was the consequence of his countless misdeeds. Upon learning that the Xia family's plea for mercy had been rejected, Liu Yuchuan was terrified out of his wits. He knew that the Xia family had completely collapsed. He had lost his backing and had no way out. Once held accountable, what awaited him would be the same fate as the Xia family. He frantically sent me messages and called me, humbly apologizing and repenting, begging me to let him go, begging me not to hand over the evidence of his involvement in the wrongdoing. I did not reply to him, nor did I block him. I just coldly watched his messages, my heart completely unruffled. Back when he betrayed me, schemed against me, and aided the Avildor, I never imagined that today would come. Now, both he and the Xia family have gotten what they deserve in the military camp. I still keep a low profile, neither showing off because the case was exposed, nor becoming arrogant because of the initial victory of revenge. I am well aware that this is only the first step. Next, there will be judicial trials, compensation, and accountability, and my own life, which I must start anew. The liaison officer told me that the enrollment procedures for the National Defense University have been completed, and the school has specially approved that I can officially enroll after the judicial trial concludes. I nodded, my heart filled with anticipation. 13. After several months of detailed investigation, evidence consolidation, and court proceedings, the Xia family substitution case has finally reached its final judicial trial. On the day of the trial, I did not return to the scene, not because I dared not, nor because I was unwilling, but because I felt it was unnecessary. I did not need to witness their sentencing with my own eyes, nor did I need to see them weeping, repenting, and begging for mercy. I only need to know that they received the punishment they deserved, only need to know that justice was finally on my side. My mother was present throughout the entire trial. As soon as it ended, she called me immediately to tell me the verdict in detail. Her tone was calm, yet carried an undeniable sense of relief. Xia's father has been found guilty of multiple charges. The charges of bribery, abuse of power, forgery and alteration of official documents, and intimidation of citizens have been combined, resulting in a sentence of 8 years in prison, a fine of 500,000 renminbi, and the confiscation of all illegal gains and assets involved in the case, which will be turned over to the state treasury. He pleaded guilty in court, weeping bitterly and expressing remorse, claiming that his momentary greed had ruined his daughter, his family, and the lives of others. Yet no amount of regret can undo the harm already done or lessen his guilt. Xia's mother, who participated in the joint crime by assisting Xia's father in bribery, intimidation, and covering up the offenses, has been sentenced to 3 years in prison, suspended for 1 year, with a fine of 100,000 renminbi. She is permanently barred from engaging in any education-related work or holding any public office. She cried throughout the trial, apologizing over and over again, yet never receiving forgiveness. Xia Wanru, for identity fraud, document forgery, and involvement in academic impersonation, was sentenced to 1 year in prison with a 2-year reprieve, fined 50,000 renminbi, placed on the list of dishonest judgment debtors, permanently barred from applying to any higher education institutions, prohibited from holding any public office, and subject to lifelong restrictions on high consumption activities. Dressed in plain clothes, with disheveled hair and vacant eyes, she no longer bore any trace of her former arrogance and pride. She broke down in court, confessed her guilt, and said she was filled with regret. But there is no remedy for regret in this world. She had to pay a heavy price for what she had done. The Education Bureau staff who had assisted the Xia family, accepted bribes, and tampered with files were, depending on the severity of their offenses, sentenced to imprisonment, probation, or dismissal from their posts. All illegal gains were confiscated, and they were permanently banned from engaging in any education-related work. Liu Yuchuan, for his involvement in the case of identity theft, assisting Shia Wanru in concealing the truth and cooperating to keep me subdued, was found to be an accomplice. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison, suspended for 1 year, fined 20,000 renminbi, expelled from his university, and permanently banned from applying to any higher education institutions. He repented in court, shifting all blame onto the Shia family in an attempt to whitewash himself, but the evidence was irrefutable, and he ultimately could not escape the punishment of the law. He once craved wealth and status, currying favor with the powerful, trying to pave a shortcut for himself by clinging to the Shia family. In the end, he reaped what he sowed, his reputation ruined, his future destroyed, and he will live the rest of his life in guilt and regret. All who committed evil received their just punishment. No favoritism, no bias, no exceptions. This is the justice of the law. This is the price of wrongdoing. The moment I heard the verdict, I stood on the military training ground, facing the evening breeze, and took a deep breath. The grievances, anger, and forbearance that had built up over half a year finally vanished completely in this moment. Half a year of lying low, half a year of waiting. All the effort, all the perseverance were not in vain. I didn't cry, nor did I laugh. I only felt an immense sense of calm. The time that was stolen, the time that was destroyed, can never be fully made up for, but at least justice was not absent, and fairness was not delayed. Those who did evil ultimately could not escape the punishment of the law. On the phone, my mother couldn't hold back her tears as she spoke. They were tears of relief, tears of vindication, tears of grievances finally being redressed. Chinghe, it's all over, everything is over. Those who bullied us and hurt us have all been punished. We don't have to suffer anymore. Yeah, Mom, it's all over, I said with a smile, though my eyes were slightly warm. From now on, we'll just live well and never think about these unpleasant things again. The turmoil in the small town had finally completely subsided. The Shia family completely collapsed, their home destroyed and family lost, becoming the laughingstock of the small town with no chance of ever recovering. Lu Yuchuan was expelled from school, his reputation ruined, and could only leave the small town to find a place where no one knew him, barely surviving. Those who had worked for the Shia family also received their due punishment, losing their reputation and standing. Those who once mocked, bullied, and looked down on me all changed their attitudes. Some came to apologize on their own, others privately expressed their guilt, and some showed goodwill toward me and my mother from afar. Mom no longer had to endure others' disdain or listen to their gossip. She could finally stand tall and hold her head high. Whenever she mentioned me to others, her face was full of pride and honor. In the military camp, I began packing my belongings, preparing to leave. Half a year of military life had tempered my character and strengthened my will, transforming me from a weak, naive girl into a resilient, decisive, and confident person. This place was my haven in times of despair, where I lay low and gathered strength, and the starting point of my journey to turn the tables. I will always remember these days, the perseverance and forbearance during this time, and the support from my mother and the help from my teachers. The day before leaving the military camp, the squad leader called me for a talk. She looked at me with sincerity in her voice. Chinghe, I know what you've been through, and I know it hasn't been easy for you. You are a resilient and strong-willed girl, and your future will only get better. Thank you, squad leader. I nodded with a smile, my heart full of gratitude. During my time at the military camp, the squad leader's guidance and encouragement, along with the companionship and help from my comrades, all made me feel warmth and gave me a glimmer of light in the darkest of days. The next day, I packed my bags, said goodbye to the squad leader, said goodbye to my comrades, and bid farewell to this military camp that had carried my endurance and growth. The car slowly drove away. I looked back, and the figure of the camp grew farther and farther away, just like those dark memories of the past. Ahead lay a bright future, a brand new life that belonged to me. 14. Leaving the military camp, I went directly to the school to complete the enrollment procedures, embarking on a brand new campus life. The National Defense University is a place I got into through my own strength, via a special talent supplementary admission. There are no stolen halos here, no false glory. Every recognition and every gain here is earned through my own efforts. The moment I stepped onto The campus of the National Defense University, my heart was filled with awe and anticipation. Everywhere on campus, there were vibrant figures, all dressed in neat uniforms, disciplined and earnest, proactive and uplifting, radiating positive energy. The learning atmosphere here is intense. The courses are rigorous, the teachers are professional and responsible, and the classmates are friendly and sincere, a stark contrast to the deceit and scheming I had experienced before I quietly completed the enrollment procedures, was assigned a dormitory, and began to immerse myself in a tense yet fulfilling academic life. I cherish this hard-won opportunity to study, diligently delving into professional knowledge, taking every class seriously, and actively participating in various practical activities, never daring to slack off in the slightest. The learning opportunities that were once stolen from me, the future that was once destroyed, I will reclaim every bit of it, little by little, just as I was fully immersed in my studies and striving to start a new chapter in life. Qingbei University took the initiative to contact me. On the other end of the line was a teacher from the Qingbei admissions office, whose tone was sincere and earnest. They expressed their apologies to me and, at the same time, extended an olive branch. They are willing to reissue my admission letter from that year, restore my admission eligibility, invite me to re-enroll, and grant me the same educational resources and treatment as other students. They have also promised to provide me with a full scholarship to compensate for the grievances and losses I have suffered over the years. For many, this invitation is a dream opportunity. Tsinghua and Peking University are the top institutions in the country, the goal that countless people strive for through years of hard study. Back then, I gave it my all and was admitted here, but because someone else took my place, I never set foot on this campus. Now, the opportunity is once again before me. As long as I nod, I can fulfill the dream of those years and have a future that countless people envy, but I politely declined their invitation. Teacher, thank you for your recognition and invitation, and also for your apology and compensation, but I have already chosen the National Defense University. I really like it here, and I cherish the opportunity to study here. The regrets of the past, though irreparable, I don't want to go back. I want to let go of the past and start a brand new life of my own at the National Defense University. The teacher on the other end of the phone was somewhat surprised but also expressed understanding. Student Su, we respect your choice and wish you a smooth academic journey and a bright future at the National Defense University. No matter when, the doors of Tsinghua and Peking University will always be open for you. Thank you, teacher, I said sincerely. After hanging up the phone, I felt an immense sense of peace. With no trace of regret or remorse, I knew I had made the most correct choice. I have no desire for stolen glory, nor do I need opportunities handed out by others. I want to rely on my own efforts, bit by bit, to reclaim everything that belongs to me and live the life I truly want. My days at the National Defense University were fulfilling and busy. I studied hard, strived for progress, and quickly adapted to campus life with my knowledge and resilience. My academic performance ranked among the top, earning recognition from both teachers and classmates. I transformed back into a confident, brave, resilient, and grounded girl. 15. During my first holiday at the National Defense University, I packed my luggage and set off on the journey back to my small town. This is my first time returning to the small town after being away for over half a year. The car slowly drove into the familiar town, and the streetscape outside the window was still recognizable, yet it had undergone some subtle changes. The neighbors who once flattered the Shia family and mocked me now took the initiative to greet me warmly and politely, their eyes filled with respect and guilt. The once quiet home had now become lively, with relatives and neighbors coming to visit, sincerely apologizing to me and my mother, expressing their regret and remorse from back then. I didn't hold a grudge, nor did I harbor resentment. Most of those people were sycophantic and went with the flow. They didn't know the truth and were deceived by the false appearance of the Shia family, leading them to mock me. Now that the truth has come to light, they have voluntarily apologized, and I have chosen not to pursue the matter further. After all, there's no need to waste my emotions on people who aren't worth it. In the 6 months since I last saw her, My mother's complexion has improved significantly. There are fewer wrinkles on her face, more smiles, and she has become much more cheerful and confident, no longer carrying the oppression and grievance she once did. Chingha. You're finally back. Mom missed you so much. Mom held my hand, her eyes full of longing and pride. Mom, I missed you too. I hugged Mom, my heart filled with warmth. During this holiday, I didn't make a big fuss about it. I just quietly stayed by Mom's side, helping her with housework, chatting with her, and taking walks with her, making up for the time I couldn't spend with her properly over the years due to all the turmoil. Occasionally, I would go out, walking along the familiar streets, observing the changes in this small town and seeing the familiar faces, my heart brimming with emotion. I passed by the Shia family's old mansion, once a magnificent and enviable grand estate. It now lay in shambles, its gates tightly shut, covered in dust, with a court seal affixed to the entrance. Gone was its former glory. I heard that all of the Shia family's assets had been auctioned off to compensate for my losses and pay fines. Shia's mother, along with Shia Wanru, who was on probation, left the small town for an unfamiliar place, living a low-key and frugal life. Shia Wanru had completely changed. No longer vain or arrogant, she became silent and introverted, scraping by on odd jobs every day. Forever burdened by the stain of her impersonation, she could never hold her head high, living a life steeped in guilt and regret. Occasionally, I also heard news about Lu Yuchuan. After being expelled, he went to another place and found a low-level job, barely scraping by. His reputation was ruined. No one wanted to be his friend, no one wanted to hire him. He could only live in solitude, enduring inner guilt and external condemnation day and night, trapped for life in the mistakes he had made. Hearing these news, I felt neither sympathy nor a softening of heart. They chose their own path, committed their own wrongs, and naturally, they must swallow the bitter consequences themselves. I will not forgive them, but I will no longer dwell on hatred. I choose to let go, to find peace not for them, but for myself, for my mother, for the hard-won peace in our lives. During the holiday, staff from the Provincial Department of Education and the local Education Bureau came to our home again to formally apologize to my mother and me. They handed over a letter of apology and compensation, sincerely expressing their regret, and promised to make thorough reforms to prevent such incidents from happening again, upholding educational fairness. I accepted their apology and also took the compensation. This money is what I deserve. It is compensation for the life that was stolen from me, and a wake-up call against educational injustice. I saved part of the compensation money for my mother's retirement, used another part to improve our lives, and donated the rest to students in impoverished mountainous areas to support their education. I know that I was once treated unfairly by fate, so I hope that those children who work as hard as I did and yearn for knowledge as much as I did can successfully complete their studies, have a bright future of their own, and not be let down by fate. The holiday ended quickly, and I had to say goodbye to my mother and return to the National Defense University to continue my studies and life. On the day of my departure, my mother still saw me off at the station, her eyes full of reluctance but also full of expectation. Chingha, take good care of yourself at school, study hard, and don't worry about home. Mom will be fine. Mom, don't worry, I will. I hugged my mom and said softly, I'll come back to be with you when I'm on break. 16 After returning to the National Defense University, I completely let go of all past grudges and regrets, fully immersing myself in study and life. The study at the National Defense University was rigorous and intense, with challenging courses and high demands. Every day was packed with a full schedule, leaving no room for idleness. But I thoroughly enjoyed this fulfilling life. Compared to the helplessness and despair of the past, these days of striving for dreams and the future are the most meaningful and worth cherishing. I cherish every class, listen attentively, take good notes, think actively, and proactively ask teachers questions. I make use of my spare time by immersing myself in the library, consulting materials, delving into professional knowledge, and broadening my horizons. I actively participate in various practical activities and research projects organized by the school, honing my skills and enhancing my overall competence. My efforts have not been in vain. With solid knowledge, tenacious perseverance, and a serious attitude, I have consistently ranked among the top in my studies, earning multiple scholarships and the title of outstanding student. I have received high recognition from teachers and classmates and have also made many like-minded friends. Being with them makes me feel relaxed, at ease, and warm. I have finally broken free from the shadows of the past, learning to open my heart, accept the kindness of others, and enjoy life. The lead instructor of the specialized course, impressed by my perseverance and talent, took the initiative to invite me to join his research team and participate in an important scientific project. This is a rare opportunity for me, and also a great challenge. I agreed without hesitation. I know this is both recognition and a test for me. I will seize this opportunity, strive to improve myself, and live up to the teacher's trust and expectations. After joining the research team, I became even busier. In addition to attending classes and studying, I had to spend a great deal of time and energy on research projects, experiments, and data analysis every day. The process was tough, and I encountered many difficulties and setbacks. Sometimes, I had to repeat an experiment hundreds of times for a single data point, or stay up late working and revising a research plan over and over again. I would also feel frustrated and lost when experiments failed, but I never once thought about giving up. When I encounter difficulties, I take the initiative to seek advice from my teachers and team members. When experiments fail, I summarize the lessons learned and start over. When I have to work late into the night, I grit my teeth and endure, without complaining or backing down. Gradually, in my scientific research projects, I found my own direction and also demonstrated my talents. Several research ideas I proposed were recognized by my teachers and team members and achieved good results in experiments. The data analysis section I was responsible for was accurate and efficient, making a significant contribution to the project's progress. My teacher increasingly recognized my abilities, often praising me and the team, saying I am a resilient, talented, and promising girl with a bright future ahead. My team members also liked me, were willing to collaborate with me, and offered their help. Being with them, I felt the power of the team and also realized my own value. 17 Time flies, and the years slip by like a shuttle in the blink of an eye. I have already spent 3 years at the National Defense University. Over these 3 years, I have held fast to the original aspiration in my heart, neither arrogant nor impatient, steadily forging ahead, burying myself in quiet accumulation day after day, diligently delving into my studies, honing my abilities, and never daring to slacken in the slightest. Academically, I have consistently ranked among the top, with my grades steadily leading the field. In my major, I have repeatedly won honors such as national scholarships, university-level outstanding student cadre awards, and model student recognitions. I have smoothly completed all undergraduate courses, and with solid, genuine strength, I have been successfully recommended for graduate studies at my own university. The road ahead is bright, and every step blossoms. In scientific research, I followed my advisor to delve deep into my field, actively participated in key research projects, meticulously refined every detail, and endured countless late nights hunched over my desk. In the end, our team achieved a critical breakthrough, winning a provincial-level scientific research award. The project's value drew significant attention from relevant national authorities, and it truly made me realize that knowledge is never a hollow title for comparison, but the foundation for standing firm, accomplishing things, and safeguarding fairness. The bond between my mother and me has grown even stronger now we live not far apart and see each other often. Our phone calls are no longer filled with cautious probing, only the comfort of casual, everyday conversation. Mom is in good health, her brows relaxed, and her temperament gradually becoming cheerful and at ease. She no longer secretly feels sad over others' gossip, doesn't have to read people's expressions, and doesn't have to endure grievances for the rest of her life. May she be stable, carefree, and safe year after year on campus. I also gained pure and sincere friendships. My classmates and comrades share the same aspirations. We get up early together for morning exercise, study together in the library, tackle academic challenges together, and guide each other through moments of confusion. We support each other, encourage one another, and grow side by side, free from the scheming of small towns, free from worldly prejudices, only sincerity and standing together. These warm companionships filled my youth, becoming the most steadfast support in the long years. I am no longer the timid, helpless Su Qinghe who was trampled upon, casually belittled, and manipulated by others. Having endured the pull of desperate situations, weathered long periods of dormancy, and walked through nights of forbearance, I have long shed all my weakness and grown into a confident, brave, resilient, and responsible person. I possess the ability to stand on my own, the confidence to remain neither humble nor arrogant, clear and firm goals, and the strength to reach out and protect those I wish to safeguard. I can rely on my knowledge and efforts to steadily protect my mother and safeguard our peaceful little home. I can rely on my professional skills to realize my own life value, without depending on anyone, without coveting shortcuts. Upright and honorable, open and aboveboard. I can also, through my own experiences, pay attention to those ordinary people in the world who are caught up in injustice, do my best to lend a helping hand, and uphold a measure of fairness in the world. Good and evil always find their way. All those who once did evil have long since swallowed the bitter fruits they planted, meeting their deserved end in the passage of time. Xie Fu was thrown into prison, and those 3 years behind bars wore away all his arrogance and overbearing pride. Once a high-ranking figure with an extensive network and ruthless methods, he was now confined within 4 walls, repeating the same monotonous and oppressive days. Time and regret wore him down, his body gradually weakened, his spirit sank into depression, and he no longer had any trace of his former vigor. 5 more years of his long prison sentence remained. By the time he walked out of the prison gates, the era would have changed, his former connections would have scattered, his reputation would be completely ruined, and his criminal record and charges would follow him for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life, he could only live under the scorn and condemnation of the world, forever burdened with the evidence of his crimes, abuse of power, bribery and fraud, and tampering with academic records. Even if he regained his freedom, he would never be able to hold his head high, spending his days in endless remorse and regret, growing old in solitude. After her probation period ended, Xia's mother completely left this small town filled with scandals and disgrace. She took the utterly defeated Xia Wanru and fled to a remote, unfamiliar town, cutting off all past connections, living under an assumed name, and keeping a low profile. Gone were the days of luxury and fine living, the lofty vanity, and the arrogance of bullying others with power. She had no choice but to set aside all pride, working odd jobs year-round, doing the most menial labor, barely scraping by to sustain the impoverished lives of mother and daughter. Time has worn away her harshness and arrogance, leaving only exhaustion and endless regret. In the dead of night, she always recalls the choices made when greed took hold, indulging her daughter in stealing another's life. She remembers the 2 families destroyed, and the broken, impoverished life she now leads, living in guilt day after day, atoning for her sins, suffering year after year, with no peace or comfort left. Xia Wanru, in particular, has been trapped for a lifetime by the greed and selfishness of those years. That scandal of identity theft is a stain she can never erase, following her wherever she goes, unable to hide her tainted past. Stripped of the false halo of a prestigious school's talented woman, and without the protection of family power and influence, she is forced to face reality. Shedding all her willfulness and arrogance nowadays, she has taken up the most ordinary grassroots job, with meager pay and a plain, impoverished life. She has set aside all sense of comparison and vanity, no longer fantasizing about getting something for nothing or achieving success overnight. She can only keep her feet on the ground, bury herself in work, and live cautiously. The glamorous life she once stole has shattered into pieces. A brief shortcut has earned her a lifetime of shackles. Her personality has become quiet and withdrawn, filled with inferiority and timidity. She dares not form deep connections with others, dares not speak of the past, And wherever she goes, she fears being recognized and pointed out, carrying the stain of being a substitute for life, forever living in the shadow of guilt, fully aware that she stole 12 years of another's hard work and destroyed the bright, upright life that person was meant to have. For the rest of her long life, she would pay for the greed and malice of her youth, yearning but never obtaining, regretting but to no avail, trapped in the cage she built with her own hands, with no escape. As for Liu Yuchuan, who once chose to aid the wicked to cling to power and influence, in the end, it all came to nothing. After the Xia family fell, he lost all his backing. The past of his involvement in concealment and deliberate scheming was exposed, his reputation at school was completely ruined, and he was ostracized and despised by everyone around him. In the end, he dropped out hastily, and his future was utterly destroyed. He drifted from one small town to another, working menial and grueling jobs, living a rough and destitute life. Countless nights, he would think back to the me of that time, someone who was sincere, pure, and outstanding, and recall his own choices of betrayal and sycophancy, leaving him filled with nothing but endless regret. But there is never a way back in this world. Wrong choices cannot be rewritten, and mistakes cannot be undone. He can only remain trapped in remorse for the rest of his life, mediocre and accomplished in nothing, paying the price of a lifetime for his selfishness and snobbery. The past surges, and the dust settles. The unforgettable wounds, the dark days of silent endurance, and the nights gritted through with sheer will, have all turned into medals of growth. I was not swallowed by the darkness. Instead, I took root in the mud and blossomed amidst the storms. I chose not to sink into hatred, but to let go of the past with peace, not forgiving the wrongs, but freeing myself. Stolen glory will eventually decay, and a borrowed life will one day collapse. Only the future earned by your own hands is solid, lasting, and never fades. Outside, the wind is calm and the sun is warm. The road ahead is open and bright. Standing on the campus of the National Defense University, I look back on the past with calm and peace. Gazing into the future, my heart is filled with openness. The past is merely a prelude. Every step of the rest of my life faces the sun. With my own strength, I walk the right path, guard my true heart, hold kindness, and journey across mountains and seas. This is my Su Chingha, the best ending.